Good morning. We invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing with us our gathering song, Come and Go With Me. This is an African American spiritual arranged by Kenny Smith. Here we go. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
so grateful for Brett and his warning of the false endings beforehand. Good morning and welcome to Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Rodney Limmery and my pronouns are he and his. For those visiting us this morning, welcome. We're really glad that you've chosen to spend some time with us this week, whether you're here in our sanctuary or in Borton Hall or outdoors if you needed a little extra space, or maybe even on our live stream. Wave if you'd like. Really, wave at the live stream people. There we go. Welcome back if you are back on campus for the first time in a long time. And for those of you online, please don't forget that we do a virtual coffee hour held 15 minutes right after the service. That way you can say hello to the people you've been interacting with. And if you're visiting physically, maybe after the service you could fill out a yellow card for us at our visitors table so that we can help you connect to this wonderful community. Just a reminder that on most months, the first Sunday of the month following the service is the opportunity for people to sign the membership book if that is something that you have understood as your desire to do. And for those of you in need of a listening ear, we have pastoral listeners here on campus, and you'll see them next to the water column during the offertory as a way to identify them. Also, just wanted to give you a few announcements. So we're a busy community, which is awesome. I wanted to remind everyone that after this service, following coffee hour today in Borton Hall, we will be joined by siblings from our Justice people in Concord United Methodist Church. We'll be stuffing purses with needed items for women fleeing domestic abuse. So please join us for a Taco Bell feast and some good words about the program from United Methodist member Ann Kung. And perhaps you have been a longtime visitor, a friend, or a member, and life has taken you away from this community for a little period of time, and now you're attempting to reconnect. If that sounds like you, we are also, and you are physically present with us today, please join Reverend Leslie and others after the service on the patio. And if you are virtually joining us, there will be an opportunity for you to join others who are attempting to reconnect with this wonderful community from 2 to 3 online, and you can visit the church calendar to get that link. This is a wonderful way to reconnect with each other and this community abroad. We also wanted to encourage everyone to please register for the exciting climate justice revival that this congregation will be hosting as a recommendation from the Side of Love campaign at the national level. The revival is on Saturday, September 28th from 1 to 4, right here on campus, and there are registration links in all of the Justice and Friday Church emails. And if you are technologically adverse, just see me or Reverend Leslie, and we'll be happy to sign you up. And now I would like to take a moment to welcome the UU minister and organizer extraordinaire, Reverend Ramwa Hamami. Ramwa is actually one of our affiliated ministers and serves our association as a congregational justice organizer with the UUA's organizing strategy team, which is part of the Side of Love campaign. They specialize specifically in the Side of Love campaigns looking at intersectional justice priorities. She previously served as the executive director of the UU Justice Ministry of California and as a hospital and elder care chaplain. It really brings me such joy to welcome to our pulpit today my colleague and, dare I say, friend, Reverend Ramwa Hamami. And finally, welcome to this beloved community.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Shea. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. Welcome to our service. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming faith community. We begin our services by reading our mission together. Should be up on the screen. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Check out the weekly email and Beacon newsletter for the many, many things that are happening here. We appreciate our continuing commitment to stay home when we have symptoms, which makes this a safer place for all of us together. With COVID on the rise, we ask that you consider taking precautions and are also glad that we can reopen our outdoor space when temperatures are predicted to be manageable. And welcome, it's good to be together.
So today we will be hearing some good news and message around hope. And so as we rise to greet one another, please chat about what brings you hope in this day and age.
All right, let's make our way back to our seats. Should I just start singing it?
Yeah.
My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. Sing it with me. My hands are strong enough to give love. As we keep singing, I want to invite the children to come forward. My arms are long enough, they're long enough, I'm good enough. My arms are long enough to give love. Let's clap. My heart is wide enough, it's wide enough, I'm good enough. My heart is wide enough to give love. My light. My light is bright enough, it's bright enough, I'm good enough. My light is bright enough to give love.
Hooray! We are here, the same old flock.
Well, no, Turkey. Not really. I mean, some of us are the same, and others of us are new, and we are glad of both.
Well, you may be glad, but I'm not. I like things to stay exactly the same.
Who is asking for things to stay the same? Good luck with that in this world.
Turkey, can I introduce you to some of our new friends? This is Chick, and this is Slug.
banana slug. Banana slug for formal occasion.
Hi!
Oh no, not again. More change, more difference.
Turkey, I know you are glad to meet our new friends.
Last year, we had to deal with it when you invited non-birds into our conversation. Now we have all kinds of non-birds and small pre-birds. I don't even know what to call them.
You know, a flock is always changing. Sometimes people leave. Blackbird moved to another city because of the cost of living, where he can afford more twigs for his nest over the summer and has 2 lovely young friends to live with. And we are so happy when we get to have new friends and ones that can help us grow and learn new things.
Cheap! Who are you calling cheap?
I want things to be the way they have always been.
You are so big.
I am not big, you are so little.
You are so big. You, on the other hand, are more my size.
And so low to the ground.
Yes, less room for falling in these unsettling times. I never get tripped on. Get it?
I get it, and I get the small chicken, but who are you again?
Allow me to share a bit about myself. Slugs and snails belong to the phylum Mollusca, and I'm more closely related to octopi than insects.
And who?
We're members of the gastropod group, you know?
And who is leaving that slimy trail?
You've discovered my paintings. I do so love to spread my own glitter around.
It's too much. Too much change, I can't take it.
Turkey, things are happening where we're going to want all of us, and you don't have to deal with it alone. You have us, all of us, your community.
We've got your back. Your big back.
Got you covered from the ground up.
I just can't relate to these new things. They're so small and featherless.
Are you being mean about my down? I can't help it if my pin feathers haven't come in yet.
Turkey, you were small once.
Oh, you mean like when I was a poult?
And who was new ones too?
You mean like when I was an egg? That was a long time ago. All this change is making me feel old. I guess these new ones are okay, but I miss Blackbird and Parrot. I wish they would come back. If we need everyone in these times, we need them.
Well, I'm sure both of them would be glad to hear from you. Maybe Blackbird might come on Zoom or YouTube sometime to say hi, and maybe you can just call Parrot so that they know that they're missed.
Parrot! Parrot!
I didn't mean right now.
You are so big and have such a big voice. Cheap!
I am not cheap. I am very generous.
Sorry. I reverted to my other language for a moment. Sometimes being bilingual, that happens.
Buy what? I will buy you what you need because I am not cheap.
No, I was talking in chicken.
I'm gonna need a lot of community this year.
And the wisdom to try on new things. Who knows? You might be more flexible and resilient than you thought. Or not. Who knows?
That might be enough wisdom for today. It's almost time to sing our blessings as the children and youth head to their amazing helpers head to their activities. On your way up, if you want to come up and give a welcome to any of our small creatures and say hello, that would be great.
We don't bite.
Some of us may slug you, though.
Hi, I'm Spotty. Sorry to be late. It just takes me so long to get anywhere. Oh, I'm a slug, by the way.
Of course you are. Parrot, where are you? Blackbird, are you on YouTube?
Wow, is everyone here so big?
All right, and with that, I'd like to invite you to join us in singing our children and youth and their helpers to their activities.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth unto the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
Yes. Good morning. I am Linda Russell, a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And my name is Kevin Shea. I'm also a member of your Board of Trustees.
Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Octavia Butler. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change.
Good morning. I'm Peter Morse, and I am your worship associate today, and my pronouns are he and his. As some folks know who've heard me at this pulpit before, landscapes are my emotional and spiritual nourishment. A favorite landscape of mine are mature ponderosa parks. I first stumbled upon one when backpacking in New Mexico about 50 years ago. Picture this, massive orange-tinted tree trunks like scattered Greco columns of various girths evenly placed to share light and rainfall in mixed meadows of knee-high grasses. This first encounter showed me what a healthy ponderosa park looks like. Mature pondos, that's an affectionate term people use for the tree, are somewhat moderately branched, and that branching doesn't start until halfway up, and the darn things smell like vanilla. Healthy stands provide ground for new trees when an older tree succumbs, allowing warmth and moisture to sprout a new pondo seedling. As some of you are aware, my husband Chris and I spend a fair amount of time in Bend, Oregon, a mountain town on the dry side of the Cascades, surrounded on three sides by these ponderosa forests, but they aren't the pondo parks of my youth. These forests surrounding Bend are the result of clear cutting 75 years ago, and the resulting forest, I use that word loosely, is a crowded single-generation woodland thicket of closely packed trees. Given this density, the trees are relatively stressed and prone to early demise, leaving layers of deadfall ripe for wildfire. For any of us who monitor air quality, at times Bend's air quality because of forest fires at 400 parts per million. 100 is deemed unhealthy. This is a problem for all sorts of reasons. However, Bend is an international outdoor recreation hub. This economic engine of outdoor enthusiasts drastically falters when wildfire smoke sinks the area into an ashen smog, and Bend's outdoor recreation charm does choke. Fortunately, a little bit of hope here, the Deschutes National Forest, which is adjacent to Bend, is attempting to mitigate the impacts of climate change-induced wildfire by mechanical thinning of these densely spaced ponderosa pine thickets. This effort is Herculean, expensive, and effective. The initial result is timber products from harvested logs and huge slash piles. Some of these slash piles measure about 100 yards long and 10 yards wide. So what do we do with these? We burn them. Not always great in terms of particulate matter, but generally the slash is burned in January and done on days when the upper winds prevail and lower winds are calm. In a season or two, just in a season or two, the remaining trees comprise a fire-resistant forest with fuel reduced, primed for returning these landscapes into the Ponderosa parks I first saw in New Mexico. Although I won't see these Ponderosa landscapes turn into mature parks, I am reminded of a quote, which I revise a bit here. We should all nourish pine trees we will never walk amongst. With that, let us come worship together.
We invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing Building a New Way, written by UU composer Martha Sandifer. Here we go. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. Peace and greed are every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. With love that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
It is the custom in this congregation when we lose a member to death to light a flame from our chalice. And I light this candle this morning to share the news that our member Isabel Johnson died a week ago today. Isabel died peacefully in the care of those who have been caring for her, with her family on its way and soon to be with her. Isabel was a member here for 6 decades and was until her death, our oldest living member. She died at age 102. Isabel was a person of great compassion and care, and I know many of us have memories of Isabel, so let's take a moment to think about our memories of Isabel Johnson. A service to honor and celebrate Isabel's life will be held here next Saturday at 3 o'clock. Thank you. This is the time in our service when we take into the larger heart of this community, those joys and sorrows that are too great to hold alone. And we have not had the opportunity to do joys and sorrows for a while, so we have a few. And those who are here, please feel free to come and light a candle. Tom Adams asked us to light a candle in memory of Charles McMillan, an exceptional leader, brilliant person with many extraordinary talents, and a friend who died at the age of 69 in a traffic accident in New Mexico. So we're thinking of Tom, who is traveling this week. We're lighting a candle for Alice Saliba, a friend of the congregation, sending healing energy as she recovers from surgery. Tom Taylor is lighting a candle this morning. Tom writes, I'm so excited as I lean into my bipolar depression and start 2 new businesses, Living Loving Tributes Forever and HealingTrauma.work. I am also excited about the logos and branding and getting the tattoo to boot, first one. Also, my daughter has experienced a breakthrough with healing her trauma with her mom, so I am grateful for all the support over the years. Thank you, Tom. Jean Wilcox has asked us to light a candle to say that the play about abortion, Voices from the Silence, which premiered in Rossmore and also was here over the summer, will play in New York next month, with Jean's role being played by Tyne Daly. Jim and Carrie Lincoln are lighting a candle this morning, celebrating their 40th anniversary, which they did a couple weeks ago by taking a hike in Muir Woods and had a lovely lunch in Sausalito. Congratulations, Jim and Carrie. And Kevin H. is lighting a candle this morning. Kevin says, contrary to an infamous statement on a timeline I made in elementary school, September 8th disasters did not strike. Happy birthday to my sister, Anne Marie. And, okay, Cyrus just wants to light a candle? All right, so we're inviting Cyrus to come forward and light a candle. We're glad to have you with us in our community, Cyrus. Yes. Glad to have you. I asked Reverend Rodney to light 2 final candles. One holds those joys and sorrows that are not expressed in words, and the other holds our hopes and dreams for this beautiful and troubled planet upon which we live.
La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da da da. Sing that with me. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. La da 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 da. Let's try that again. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da da da. The words we are about to sing to that tune come to us from the Peace Poets who wrote this song in April of 2020. As we were all learning to hold the pain, fear, and healing that we all were experiencing in that moment. This is the moment. Put down what you're holding. Everything is changing. Listen to the wind. And when you hear it, you don't have to fear it. Now's the time for healing everything we love. Let's do that again. This is the moment. Put down what you're holding. Everything
is changing. Listen to the wind. And when you hear it, you don't have to fear it. Now's the time for chailing everything we love. Let's do that once more. This is the moment. Put down what you're holding. Everything is changing. Listen to the wind. And when you hear it, you don't have to fear it. Now's the time for healing everything. Now's the time. Now's the time for healing everything we love.
This is the moment in our service when we center our hearts and minds collectively, creating an intentional space that allows us to connect with the aspects of life that are much bigger than any one of us alone. Some amongst us call this a meditative moment, others focused intention, and today I invite you into the spirit of communal prayer, which is ultimately a place for us to lay out our heart's deepest ask. Spirit of life and transformation, love beyond naming, and that which binds us all. Guide us as we navigate this ever-changing tide of existence. Help us to cultivate a pliable spirit, one that bends and moves gracefully like the pine trees amongst the winds of change, rather than breaking in resistance. Grant us the resources we need to approach these shifting and see everything around us with calm and centered hearts, grounded enough to help us remember that we can shape and direct the change we want as it is happening. May we find strength in our unity, drawing from the well of collective wisdom and compassion. In moments when shadows overwhelm us, illuminate the path with hope. Remind us that even in the most difficult circumstances, there is still a light that can never be extinguished, a flame that has burned throughout the ages. For hundreds, if not thousands of years, we've seen examples of a myriad of oppressed peoples living simultaneously in grief and in hope. May their courage and perseverance inspire us to hold fast to our own visions of a world more just and loving. We acknowledge the diverse names and forms from which we know all to be sacred, whether it be God, the universe, great mystery, spirit of love or life, or maybe even justice. May our understanding be broadened, embracing the infinite ways we perceive divinity. And in this moment of prayerful intention, may our own hearts be open to transformation and trust the process of growth that change sometimes brings. Together, may we walk in courage, hold vision of a brighter, kinder world for all. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
So our special music today is a video from our music director for this year, Jace Saplan. Jace has had an injury and is going to be joining us this week in person, which we're looking forward to. And Jace is a native Hawaiian who comes from that tradition and offers this to us from that tradition. It is part of the collection of music left to the Hawaiian people by Queen Liliuokalani, and who was imprisoned in her own palace at the end of her rule and who left many gifts for her people.
Good morning. I'm Mark Chase. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are he and him. As I thought about this week's call for the offering, I reflected upon our newly approved UUA values. Two of them stood out to me: the value of interdependence and the value of generosity. The author Herman Melville once wrote, "We cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fibers connect us with our fellow man." Each one of us is a part of the interdependent web of all existence. One might argue this church is also an important part of our interdependence. It reminds us to care for one another and the planet, to reach out and to make a difference. Our principle of generosity reminds us to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. As you make your donations this morning, I encourage you to reflect on our community and to give in whatever ways you are able to contribute. If you wish to donate online, you will find the yellow Give Now button at the top left corner of our website. I invite the ushers forward to gratefully accept your offerings. Please join me in the dedication of our offering. The words are found on the screen. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
So I'm going to do a reading. It's an excerpt from The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Saturday, August 17th, 2024. For whatever it's worth, here's what I believe. It took me a lot of time to understand it, then a lot more time with a dictionary and a thesaurus to say it just right, just the way it has to be. In the past year, it's gone through 25 or 30 lumpy, incoherent rewrites. This is the right one, the true one. This is the one I keep coming back to. God is power, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent, and yet God is pliable, trickster, teacher, chaos, play. God exists to be shaped. God is change. This is the literal truth. God can't be resisted or stopped, but can be shaped and focused. This means that God is not to be prayed to. Prayers only help the person doing the praying, and then only if they strengthen and focus the person's resolve. If they're used that way, they can help us in our only real relationship with God. They help us to shape God and to accept and work with the shapes that God imposes on us. God is power, and in the end, God prevails. But we can rig the game in our own favor if we understand that God exists to be shaped and will be shaped with or without our forethought, with or without our intent.
It's good to be with all of you this morning. It's been a minute. Lauren Olamina, the fictional character whose journal entries serve as the text of Octavia Butler's 1993 novel, Parable of the Sower, would be 15 years old today. The story, which begins on Saturday, July 20th, 2024, centers on Lauren's experience living in Southern California during a version of the world that many have come to point out is chillingly close to our own. In Lauren's version of California and the world, rampant economic inequality, climate change, and authoritarianism have created a society where virtually everyone except the wealthy few struggle to survive. The few communities that have found ways to support each other through mutual aid and rigorously disciplined resource cultivation are constantly being attacked by outsiders who have even less than them. There is a presidential candidate, Christopher Donner, who runs on a promise to return the United States to its former glory. No comment. When he is elected into office at the end of that year, he begins suspending worker and environmental protection laws and promotes investments in company towns, corporate-owned cities that exploit the astronomical unemployment and homelessness crises and bring back into mainstream practice already currently legalized versions of indentured servitude and slavery. Now, Lauren The daughter of a Black Baptist minister and former college professor lives with what might be considered a disability, hyperempathy, the ability to experience the physical sensations she observes others experiencing, including physical symptoms like bleeding. She's also incredibly intelligent and curious. By the time we meet her in that first journal entry in July, she expresses deep skepticism of the soon-to-be President Donner's promise that how returning to the way things were would fix the problems of the world. Having secretly abandoned the Baptist faith of her father, she has also begun to develop a clear and visionary set of spiritual beliefs for herself, which she eventually comes to call Earthseed. The destiny of Earthseed, she writes in an entry dated Sunday, July 20th, 2025, is to take root among the stars. She means this literally. As part of her faithful belief that change is both inevitable and essential for humanity, she envisions a time that there will come a time when humanity, because of our actions, will have no choice but to find a new home beyond Earth. What that home looks like? Well, that's up to us. And maybe we get a sneak peek of it in the sequel text, The Parable of the Talents, that Butler published in 1998. Now, I'm not here to give a book report on Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. You're welcome if you have to read it for class. But there is a reason that this book has become somewhat of a sacred text amongst the organizers and justice dreamers of today. In 2004, when asked about the chillingly predictive nature of her two parable texts, Butler stated that when I wrote them, the time was very different. I was trying not to prophesize. Matter of fact, I was trying to give warning. In her writings, Butler astutely observed the cyclical nature of humanity, that there were patterns of behavior that we could identify from our past and intentionally work to prevent in our present so that we did not relive them in potentially more horrific ways in the future. She goes on to say in that same 2004 interview, one of the kinds of research I did was to read a lot of stuff about World War II. Not the war itself, but I wanted to know in particular how a country goes fascist. So I have this country in Parable of the Sower, and especially Parable of the Talents, sliding in that direction. And I really was trying not to prophesize that somehow we would do that. 30 years ago, Butler imagined what our world would look like if we repeated patterns of our past without making true, lasting change on how we engage with each other and our world. She may not have wanted to prophesize, but the unfortunate reality is that in many ways she did. We know that authoritarianism is on the rise. Climate change has continued to create deadly crises for communities around the world, and our refusal to engage in any real critique or even minor shifts away from capitalism as a globalized economic structure have led to a wealth inequality that is downright evil. In 2023, the top 1% of the world's population owned 38% of the world's wealth. The bottom 50% of the population, 2%. And it should come as no surprise that when you factor in characteristics like race and gender, the impact of not just wealth inequality, but the rise in authoritarianism and climate crises becomes breathtakingly and immorally worse for women and people of color. Now, I imagine that for many of us, this isn't new information. And maybe in this moment, it isn't alleviating any of the feelings of uncertainty or rage or even despair that we may have already come into this space with, because like me, we made the mistake of doom scrolling the headlines this morning. And if I'm being honest, it shouldn't. These are turbulent and terrifying times. We need to be honest about that reality and how we feel about it. We need to grieve. We need to lament. We need to rage and scream, when will this end? We need to feel the ways that we have been harmed and hurt one another, because that is the only way we are going to know what we need to heal. And the only way we will be able to claim any of our responsibility and our power to change our reality for the better. The good news: Lauren Olamina's fictional story and our real one also predicts how we can do that. See, just like the harmful and dangerous patterns in humanity we can so easily identify in today's world, Octavia Butler's parables also invites and encourages us to find the liberating and life-giving ones that are seated not just within Lauren's story, but our own as well. Without going back into book report mode, we can find many of those invitations in what Lauren writes in her journal as some of those core teachings of Earthseed, and especially her central assertion that God is change. Lauren combines her difficult and honest assessment about the atrocities of society with something we all have: imagination. She knows that in this moment in her life, in humanity's life, a change is going to come. But what that change looks like, we get to decide. Rather than be resigned to a change that continues the extractive, exploitative, and downright deadly patterns of the past, Lauren imagines what a change could look like if it was shaped by what the best of us is as people: compassion, care, diversity, generosity. What are some other ones? Love. Thank you for the punchline. Take away. Joy. Gratitude. Imagination. Abundance. I'm trying to catch them all. Empathy. Fearlessness. Trust. Love again. You can't have too much love. Faith. Hope. There's so much. There's so much. We could keep going. That could be the rest of the sermon, y'all. Lauren dares to imagine that it is not just her and our shared responsibility to create that change. It's well within our capacity to do so. For the sake of change, let's revisit the excerpt that was from our reading today in a new way and read her Earthseed portion backwards. God is change. God, change, exists to be shaped. Clay, chaos, teacher, trickster. God is pliable and yet indifferent, inexorable, irresistible, infinite. God, change, is power. Rather than avoid or deny, like the turkey, that change can and will happen, we can and must decide what we are going to do to shape that change. How are we going to claim now our power to change now with forethought and intention before the conditions of the world force us to change out of fear and desperation? How are we going to lean into the honest and sometimes painful realities of the world as it is, so that we can leap into the beautiful and still imagined possibilities of the world as it could be? And how do we, as Unitarian Universalists, people of a faith that prides itself on being a living tradition, that celebrates the ways in which we as individuals and communities are continuously shaped by our journey, that lifts up transformation now as one of our essential part of our values? How are we both responsible for and empowered to help steward that change? Here's some more good news. We've done it before. in the midst of all that is happening in our world, not the least of which is an international reality of multiple genocides and escalating global warfare, we are constantly being told that we are living through unprecedented times. But every time I read or hear that phrase, a piece of my soul resists it. Because as those who persevere at the front lines of injustice continuously remind us, that idea is only partially true. Now, to be clear, I am not denying that the combination of elements that make up our shared and individual experiences is new. Of course it is. There are technological, geopolitical, psychological, biological, name-your-ogical or itical realities that are all new and unique to this moment in history. Some of those realities, like our now more mainstream awareness of intergenerational trauma, invites us to live into our better selves by empowering us to identify and disrupt harmful patterns of our past. Some of them, like artificial intelligence, maybe require a little bit more discipline to use ethically. And so we can care and respect the artists and their healing and genuine creations. But what I am suggesting is that at the root of our unprecedented times, there are also realities that are quite precedented. After all, Octavia's parables wouldn't have been so eerily accurate if there wasn't some form of repetition. Realities like dehumanization, rooted in racism and white supremacy. Exploitation, rooted in a belief that humanity is a superior creation. Isolation, rooted in a violent disregard of our inherent connections. Division, rooted in the manipulation of fear of difference. Extermination, rooted in an oppressively false definition of safety. I don't know about you, but those go counter to my faith. And in their text, Let This Radicalize You, Organizing and the Revolution of Reciprocal Care, abolitionist organizers and educators Kelly Hayes and Miriam Kaba invite us to remember that there have been other moments in history, periods of tremendous grief and immeasurable suffering, when those most impacted still dared to imagine, hope, and shape change. In their chapter, Hope and Grief Can Coexist, they write, many of our ancestors experienced the end of the worlds that they had known during times of siege and enslavement, amid open warfare and famine, behind bars and while living as fugitives, and with the threat of nuclear annihilation looming overhead. Previous generations have found ways to organize for change and for collective survival. We must learn from their histories and traditions as we face an uncertain future. Those difficult and seemingly impossible to change realities that are in fact precedented, we have seen and directly benefit from how our ancestors and elders moved through them with courage and vision when they encountered them before. We are the results of changes that are rooted in the imaginations of people who resisted a lie that some of us are more valuable than others. And in their text, Healing Justice Lineages, Dreaming at the Crossroads of Liberation, Collective Care, and Safety, Kara Page and Erica Woodland trace dozens of these people and movements in history and their long-standing impact. Movements like the American Indian Movement, or AIM, founded in 1968, that was initiated by indigenous men incarcerated in the US prison industrial complex, who brought national attention to the various forms of systemic oppression that have impacted indigenous communities for centuries, including widespread poverty, police brutality, cultural genocide, and more. Through various direct actions like the occupation of Alcatraz in San Francisco, Wounded Knee in South Dakota, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs in DC, they called attention to the ongoing implications of settler colonialism in the United States. And through the creation of the AIM Patrol, the Indian Health Board, and survival schools, they also imagined and developed alternatives that could become seeds for a world with indigenous sovereignty and collective care. Those pine trees that they themselves might not see. And it's not just the people and movements of our past that we can learn from. As Hayes and Kaba write, we can also learn from organizers among us today who face seemingly insurmountable odds and find ways to move forward in hope. We can and must learn from the people in our communities today who are on the front lines of imagination, who daily discern whether they will need to shape change with intention or desperation. Kays and Haba lift up people in communities like Chicago's Little Village, a predominantly Hispanic community who in April of 2020 faced a community-wide environmental and health crisis when a decommissioned coal stack was improperly demolished, resulting in a giant toxic dust cloud sweeping through the community. The immediate and ongoing implications for community members' health, the environment, were devastating and deadly. And organizers who leaned into that reality, as Kaba and Hayes put it, waged acts of transformational care. The Little Village Environmental Justice Organization had already begun organizing for years to combat the environmental racism in their community, and in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're now faced with even more challenges following this dust cloud. Together with a coalition that included individuals impacted in the Cook County Jail, they organized a community-wide car caravan that provided both widespread political education and called upon city leadership to literally clean up their act. On top of these demonstrations, they leaned into the dangers of their reality and leapt into the possibility of what the best of humanity could do to change it, creating vibrant mutual aid structures in Little Village that worked to provide the most impacted members of the community with water, food, asthma inhalers, medicine, transportation, COVID tests, and more. As the organizer Juliano Pino shared with Kaba and Hayes in their chapter, our work happens in opposition to what is likely or what others in power think will happen. I think remembering that allowed us to push back the hopelessness and to find each other as people committed to the work and community in that sort of relational space. And that's where we found the energy to fight back. To paraphrase from what was beautifully sung together this morning, every day, every hour, we are filled with power. We are strong enough to give love. Or as Falcon had to remind Turkey this morning, things are happening where we are going to want all of us. And you don't have to deal with it alone. You have us, all of us, your community. If we can lean into those pieces of who we are that we shouted out a few moments ago, and allow our ability to shape change to be shaped by them, there is no limit to what we can both imagine and create together. It will not be easy. It will not be quick. We will not transform centuries of dangerous and harmful patterns overnight. It will not be perfect and painless to navigate those complexities that we need to heal in order to heal everything we love. But if we intentionally commit to practices that remind us of who we are and what we value, if we purposefully make the time to connect to each other and our broader beloved community in meaningful and recurring ways, if we faithfully support one another with a culture of care and a prioritization of our collective sustainability, if we choose to shape that messy, essential, life-giving change, grounded in the best of who we are, it will be possible to build that new way. And then maybe, one day, we might find ourselves maybe not living among the literal stars like Lauren imagined, but we will imagine for ourselves a different world and truly claim our power to make it real.
we invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing song, Love Will Guide Us, written by Sally Rogers, a public elementary school music teacher, touring folk musician and songwriter whose works promote justice, unity, and peace. Here we go. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
As we go out into the world, a world that shapes us, may we carry forward the love, the power, and the possibility in this community that can shape and change that world. Go in peace, go in love, and go in powerful freaking change.